So today's topic is discussing the powerful indicators that exist in Deepvue, some of the ones that we've coded, why we've coded them, and how they're useful to you in your trading. So I'm in the screener module. On the very left of your, we have the menu. You could go to the screener module. And what we will do is start with one of the most frequent questions that's asked. So I'll get rid of all these indicators from my charts, and we'll set up the charts the way I set them up from scratch. So one of the things you want to be aware of is when you hover over this particular icon, I know we don't have a label on it, which makes it a little bit harder. You click this and you'll get the indicators that are available. Now, not all of the indicators that we have in our platform are coded by us, right? Some of them are default available from the library. So if we want to search custom indicators that are built by the Deepvue team, all you have to do is type in DB. And then if you type that in, it kind of filters all the indicators for the ones that we've coded into the platform. And you can see we have indicators from, Mike Webster that we've worked on. We have indicators for stage analysis. We have indicators for the Sanger volume ratio, which we included recently. And if you guys follow more of a day trading style, we also have the Ripster EMA clouds. We also have some indicators that are proprietary or unique and only available on the Deepvue platform, which is the relative measured volatility. So that's a concept that we've discussed in many webinars before this, and one that we will discuss today on how to set up your charts with relative measured volatility. It's a way for you to screen or chart tightness of price action on the charts itself, so it's visible and it removes your bias as to what you feel may be tight. And it may not be. So we built this tool for you to visualize tightness, to screen for tightness in our platform. So we'll start with the fact how I set up my charts today, because I get a lot of those questions. I'll hand it over to Nick. He will go over how his charts are set up. All of this is not to say this is the only way to do it. It's just to give you guys ideas as to how we are setting things up so that you can go and take that to your own setup in Deepvue and make it better in terms of chart settings and indicators. So the first thing I like to do is have the DV enhanced volume. The DV enhanced volume is basically an indicator. Let's pick a better stock. Let's go to Apple. And it gives you a colored scheme of volume. Your basic volume is your blue and your green. The Deepvue enhanced volume, all it does is a few very basic things. If you go under style, my up volume is blue. You can make it any color you want. My down volume is pink. You can make that any color. These are just the Deepvue colors that we use in the platform. Actually, they might not be. I've messed them up. The green that you see are pocket pivot labels. Pocket pivots, again, mean any time a stock is having an up day, and also the volume today is greater than any of the down volume over the last previous 10 days. It will be color green. It's a subtle sign of accumulation. You've never heard of pocket pivots before? Just go to Google, type in pocket pivot trader lion. We have a whole guide. You can go through that, learn about what pocket pivots are, why they're useful. If you don't find them useful, again, you can customize this, make it the same color as your up volume, or not even give it a color. That way, we're not forcing it upon you to use this particular green color for your pocket pivots. The last one that I want to cover in terms of settings and what these colors mean is reverse pocket pivot. Reverse pocket pivot is a way for me to identify if and when volume is drying up on a particular name. Reverse, the word reverse basically states it's the opposite of a pocket pivot. So it's the lowest volume in the previous 10 days. And every time that happens, it's a subtle sign that volume may be drying up, and we might be getting directional moves, especially when you combine that with price action and tightness in price action. So that's how I set it up with respect to, one of the first indicators that I'm adding to my charts is DV dash enhanced volume. It gives me a lot of information right away, makes chart analysis, especially price and volume analysis, a lot easier and a lot quicker as well. The second thing is I take the daily average. I usually use a 20. We have two configs. We will likely change this and update. Nick, if you want to take a note on your end, we should make this any number that users want instead of 2050 to make it a little more flexible. And then the weekly average, when you're on a weekly chart or when you put this volume on a weekly, we have a separate moving average. So we'll make both of these flexible likely in the next update, which will be Thursday coming up. And we have a few other options that were requested by users. So if you want to color based on the previous bar, we have a toggle for that. Or if you want to truncate your volume to get, a log-based volume, we also have that available. So I don't tend to use these two things. I tend to stick to the 20-day, on my daily, and the 10-week average on volume on my weeklies. So I have those set up. And that's it. That's how I use DV enhanced volume. Now, the next thing I put on my chart is if I go to DV, the next one I'm using is the DV key moving averages. So the Deepvue key moving averages indicator is an indicator we built where you can set up all the moving averages that you could potentially be using on different time frames. So on intraday, anything less than the daily time frame, if I want the 8 or the 21, and if I switch from daily to 65-minute, the 65-minute will automatically have these moving averages for me. So it's one indicator that combines different time frames and all your moving averages on one, and makes it really, really easy to have all your moving average settings in one place. So that's why I use the Deepvue key moving averages. So on the daily, I use the 10-day. I don't use the 23. I use the 21-day, and then I use the 50-day and not the 65. Sometimes I toggle on the 65 if I need it. And the way I set up my moving averages on the daily charts is usually a green, orange, and red system, just like a traffic light. So if something is coming into the 10-day, I set my 10-day to be the green line, so I know, okay, it's still fine. And then when it comes into the 20-day, price action comes into the 21, that I set as orange, because that's kind of, things are starting to get a little bit iffy. And then I use the red as my 50-day, and that's how my trading works in terms of how I trade the markets. Now, it's just a framework that you can use for yourself if you find that useful. I kind of have the traffic light in my head, and when I'm flipping through charts really, really quickly, it makes it very easy for me to know, okay, it's holding the 10-day, it's holding the 21-day, it's near the 50-day, it's starting to get iffy with a red line. Same thing for weekly. You could set up your weekly. So if I were to toggle from daily to weekly, it will plot the 10-week line for me and the 40-week. I tend to stick to these. These are defaults. We'll give you 5 moving averages that you can have on any time frame, right over here. 5 moving averages, and also 5 moving averages on your monthly if you are to switch to the monthly time frame as well. So this indicator makes it really easy. One place for me to manage all my moving averages. I don't have to put on, the triple moving average indicator or have every single moving average be separate. That's why we built the Deepvue key moving averages indicator. It makes it super easy for me to set up my charts. The next one that I will cover is, and the one that, again, we're going over how I set up my charts, just to inspire you guys as to how you want to set up yours. So I add the Deepvue technical patterns. Now this particular indicator gives me a lot of options. It gives me all these technical patterns that I can plot, and I can also change up the style on any of these. So if I want my power trend to show as an arrow up, right? I want it to be below my bar. I want the color to be, let's say, white. And I want my opacity to be very, I want it to show visibly on the charts. That's possible. So you can style it any which way that you want with any of these technical indicators. And what I tend to do is I only keep the RMB up for now. And then if I am a little bit curious about, is this now in a power trend, I'll come and toggle it on just to see if it applies. If it doesn't, I toggle it back off, because I don't want my charts to have, 15 different technical patterns at once and leave me all confused. So I put the RMB, I have a look back period of 15. Every time the RMB is below 9 or 10, I want that dot to show. So if I go under styles and I go to relative measured volatility, I change it to a diamond or a square. It's just a different shape, and I make it white so it's super visible, and I turn the opacity all the way up so that now I have these little diamonds or squares that show me, again, the definition of relative measured volatility is a stock is now tight relative to itself on a 15-day look back period, and it's getting, it's never, it's 90% tighter than it's traded in the last 15 sessions. So that's what RMB is. Well, Nick, if you want to make a note, we should put the full form. We should not say RMB. Just it's a little bit confusing to people. So we'll change that so that you guys know exactly what it is and it's not an acronym. So that's the third indicator that I have up, the RMV indicator. It tells me, when price is getting tight. It's a very visible, signature on the charts that I put up over here. We do have Nick, we should also include the Launchpad pattern in this if you want to make a note of that. So we'll make that update. So we'll include the Launchpad, which I felt it was in here already. It isn't, but we'll include that so that you guys can also label Launchpads. Launchpads are basically 3 moving averages coming together, right? The 10, 21, 50, depending on your style, you could use the 2150 and the 65. That tell you that the stock has now been basing over your largest moving average, which is, if you pick the 65 as your largest one, it means that the stock is now basing for 65 days. That's also really good, if you put it visually on your charts to know that, hey, I have a 65-day base to work with. It might get directional to the upside. It might get directional to the downside. So that's the third indicator that I use. Again, I will type in DV dash, which will give me all of these. The fourth one that I'll cover is I use the relative strength line. So if you go DV dash relative strength line, I put that when you add it to your chart, it will show up in the same panel as your price action, and your price action is all squished now, right? So there's two things that we could do here. We could try to fix it within the same panel, or we can move it to a different, panel itself. I like to move it to a different panel. So if I click these three dots, go to the dropdown, go to move to, and click new pane above. Now it adds it to a separate panel. Pane is just a fancy word for panel. So this is now a separate section on my charts, and my price action is not completely squished. And now I can scale it whichever way I like. I like to put it on auto and keep it logarithmic. And there are a few settings that I tend to change for the DV relative strength line. So if I go to settings, you can compare with any index that you like. You can compare with the S&P. You can compare with bonds. You can compare with the Qs. I like to compare with the Qs because I'm more of a faster paced trader, and I like to measure performance with respect to how the NASDAQ is doing versus the S&P. A lot of people, if you want to use this SPY, you can stick to the SPY as well. We have a few options here, so you can change it from a line to a candlestick. So you can plot your relative strength as a candlestick, or you can keep it a line. I like the candlestick approach, especially during corrections, where I get very granular with respect to relative strength days, etc. But I keep it mostly on the line. The rest of these are basically, you can place a moving average, so you can have the 21-day SMA plotted. So if a stock is outperforming the NASDAQ or the S&P on a 21-day basis, it will trade above the 21-day average RS line. If it's lagging the S&P, it will trade below it. So for example, Apple has now been lagging the S&P. If we just zoom in a little bit, so it's lagging the S&P performance, or it's not showing relative strength. So that on a 21-day average basis, so the relative strength line is below that. And when it is doing that, it will cross above, and now it's outperforming on a 21-day basis. So that's all that means. It puts a moving average on your relative strength line, depending on the time frame that you're interested in. And it's completely configurable. So if I change this to 52, this changes to, on a 52, EMA basis or average basis, is Apple outperforming or not? This is one of the things that, again, Mansfield RS is just S&P comparing performance on a 52-week basis. You could change this to a 21 if you're a faster paced trader. We have a slew of options. I won't cover these. It will take forever. But relative strength, we have visuals for if relative strength line is making a new high, if relative strength line is making a new high before price, green dot and pink dot. Just give me 1 second. If you want the two moving averages to show or not show, and if you want the crossing average to show or not show as well. So that's how I set up my relative strength line. The next thing I'll cover before, Nick, I switch it over to you, is stage analysis. So we have this indicator that we worked on, stage analysis that identifies stages. These are based on exact definitions and discussions we had when we did the stage analysis masterclass with Stan Weinstein. So we've configured these. We're always tweaking and improving this code, right? These stages will never be perfect to the penny, but in collaboration with Stan, we've learned a lot of what he thinks and how he views the market today. We've coded those in as an indicator, and these are some of the settings for it. So all the indicators or stages get a separate color. You can configure them whichever way you like. And what I tend to do is and I did that so as just like it's second nature, but I will add it again. It's going to be on your main chart up here. And I tend to click the three dots, move to existing panel above, and I move it to the existing panel. And now it's behind my relative strength line. So now I'm getting more information about a stock. Is it tight? How's the volume looking? What's the relative strength line doing with respect to the 21-day? And what stage the stock is in? This is how I set up my daily charts. And I have this, I've been doing this for a while. And we, as you go through these symbols, you can gather a lot of information with respect to stage, with respect to how it's performing versus the S&P, with respect to the volume signature and the price action as well. So Nick, I will hand it over to you to cover how you set up your weekly charts, right? I know a lot of people are interested in those, and then we can dive into some questions as well.
You see my screen?
Yes.
Cool. So, I get a lot of questions about my charts. It's pretty simple. I use moving averages on, I mainly trade the weekly chart, but I do switch back and forth between the daily and the weekly. The weekly, I'm just using the 10 and 30 week moving average. The questions I get a lot about my chart are why does my volume look like this? And all it is it's the enhanced volume that Rye just showed you. So, I basically just have all of the volume. If it's up, down, or reverse pocket pivot, I just have it very dark because I don't care much about it. And then any above average days or pocket pivots, I have colored in blue. This way I can just clearly see like if we're getting, big volume skyscraper days that I really want to pay attention to. This is, like I said, again, it's just the DV enhanced volume indicator. And it's the exact same one that you just saw on Rise screen. I just only color the up on the pocket pivots or the above average volume days because that's really all I care about. So just trying to think of like where it's a really good example. Yeah, this is kind of played out now, but Affirm kind of made a low over here in December, and then it made a slight higher low. And you can see that we started to have the pocket pivot days or the big above average up volume days come in, and they started to show up and accumulate. And this gave me confidence in this trade to, buy and add to this position. So I just like how you can clearly see when these days are sticking out. That's really all I do for my indicators. My charts are very simple. For my daily charts, it's the same thing. And I use the 150-day moving average, 21-day moving average, and the 50-day moving average, which is usually the simple. Right now it's the EMA. I don't know why. But again, there's really no difference at the end of the day, right? But yeah, that's it.
Let's take a few questions. I'll share my screen once more. A good question by Scott in the comments. Does the DVRS line work on sub-daily timeframes? Yes, it does. So if you go to a 5 minute, it will still plot. So if I go to a 5 minute, it will still plot, on an intraday basis, right? So given that engine was a gap up, the relative strength line, the scaling is a little bit skewed, but if you were to do this, it does plot on an intraday basis as well. So that's a pretty interesting, now that I think about it, you can have an intraday chart up on a 5 minute and you could see if it's outperforming or not intraday as well while we compare it to the S&P performance. A few more questions, Nick. You could read some out if you see them.
Yeah, how do you modify your colors on the candles for up down pocket pivots and reverse pocket pivots? I Are you modifying your candle colors or is this just a general question?
No, you can go to style. So when you hover over any indicator, if I hover over this, if I hover over that, you'll see the extra menus that pop up. And when I hover over this, I click settings. You go to settings and then you click style, which is the second tab, and you could give them any color that you want. So if you don't, if you only want to see big volume, that's what Nick did on his. All he did was, I believe, Nick, you would blur these out, or I'll let you do that, but he's blurring these out so that he sees the pocket pivots stick out like a sore thumb, right? That's all he's doing. Maybe Nick, you could share a screenshot or something later on of your style tab. That might make it easier for folks to understand as well. Any news on the desktop app? No news on the desktop app. We will get to it probably after the summer, if not early Q4. Right now, it's not at the top of the list. Our focus in Q2 with the Q2 roadmap published as a pin tweet on the Deepvue handle. If you guys go on X, it's there and visible. A lot of data integration. We want to get a lot of crypto markets, fundamental data, breadth data, etc. in Q2. Q3, our focus will be adding 1 to 2 international markets, and then Q4 we'll get a little bit fancy with maybe we get into journaling, maybe we do desktop app, add multiple monitor support, etc. as a bigger project in Q4. First
I
time,
got a
yeah, go
good
ahead.
question. Is it possible to add highest volume ever and highest volume in 1 year to the enhanced volume? I think that's a really good
Yes,
suggestion.
we can easily do that as a separate color, right? As a separate color. Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah,
We should do that right away.
that's pretty easy, right?
Let me just talk to the dev today and we can confirm the addition of it relatively soon. This is my first intro to Deepvue. Is this extension to TradingView a replacement? We don't, there's nothing, the charting engine we are using today is TradingView. Everything else is our own. So everything else is our own. Our data that goes into this charting engine is Deepvue data. We're just using their charting engine. And later on this year, we'll introduce Deepvue charts, which will come out. That way we can, we'll still have TradingView charts available, but we will introduce a separate option if you guys want, to try Deep. We'll have some very unique features that will be associated with our own charting system. How do you reduce the size of your chart? So if I want to reduce the size of my chart, there's a slider. So this particular slider, these two, bars over here, or you can grab it anywhere where your mouse changes from this or that to this particular, drag back and forth, and you could change it to be any size. So if I click this, it will come back. I can tuck it away. I'll have a full screener, and then I want it back. I can click that arrow and bring it back. Do you support alerts and webhooks? Great question. We're rolling out push notifications through iOS and Android applications that we have. That is happening over the next week and a half, 2 weeks. We'll get into webhooks and fancy stuff a little bit later on, but webhooks at the moment are not supported whatsoever. Are you guys planning to have all these features for the Indian markets? Yes. Everything that you see, RMV, Launchpads, how to set up these charts, industry rankings, whatever we do from a data perspective, will all carry over to any international market that we pick. All we have to do is bring that international market data in, apply the technical data set to that market, and it will have the same features. Why is the volume bar red, purple, even though the stock gapped up? The reason that we do that, and it's a great question that you notice that, if we go to MGN, go to a daily, it will show us the daily. So Amgen gapped up, right? Amgen gapped up. It's the closing price is higher than the previous day. So why the heck is this pink? The answer to that is the closing range on this particular day was not greater than 50%. And that's why we color it a pink. So also relative to the open, relative to the open, the open of this stock, which was over here, it closed down relative to the open. That's the second reason that this is pink. Now, if you don't want that, you can easily go to the settings here. You go to inputs and you could say color based on previous bar. If I do that, color based on previous close, and I enable that, now this bar is whichever color that you give your update, which will cover the close of this day relative to the close of this day and color it accordingly. So both are doable. It's personal preference as to what. Maybe, Nick, we should make this a default setting because most people think this way and not the other way, right? So we should make this probably a default setting for this indicator. Any plans to add mark high? Yes, there's all the plans to do that, to mark the swing high and the swing lows. That will definitely happen as we roll out our own charting platform, but we're working with TradingView to give us those capabilities. And we just don't have those capabilities to kind of do that, but we're working with them to enable that for us. Would like to be able to see RWAL at any given moment, not 20-day, etc. Yes, that will come with a formula builder. We have 20-day and 50-day as defined data points right now. We will, all these calculations will be any time frame, any number, any formula that you want relatively soon. That's something will happen this summer, likely June, July. Any plans to add BP and IP levels? They were very useful. Yes, there are plans. Likely not this summer. When we start adding S&P data, then we can start plotting, and maybe we'll convert that into an indicator, and you could have that update every morning like we did. All-time high indicator is already coming. I believe it was filed, both the data point and the line to draw on the charts. Can we have customized TV filters in Deepvue? Deepvue is not related to TradingView. There's no connection. So if you're looking for customized filters or custom indicators to build, that's a TradingView thing. Deepvue does not do that. You can create new screens in Deepvue. We have our own fundamental and technical data. You can go to the dropdown and save those. We had a screening webinar that was put out. Be sure to take a look at that webinar where we go into depth of how to screen or create filters in Deepvue. Launchpad, yes, I did see that after the fact. Yes, it's there in the technical patterns. Any chance Google Sheets can be used for exporting data? don't want to pay Microsoft a license for Excel. You can download. So that's a great question. So if I were to select this and I want to export data, you could export it to an Excel, but then on Google Sheets, you can import it to Google Sheets as well. You can upload an Excel sheet to Google Sheets. But if you want a direct option to connect this to your Google Drive, which will then save it as a Google Sheet, we don't have that yet, nor do we have plans to do that anytime soon. Do you provide data for futures? Not yet. CF futures data will be coming as part of, a lot of the data integrations that we'll do this summer. It's in progress. It will happen this summer. GLB, there's currently a scan for green line breakout. Let us know, which lets us know when it occurred. Add any plans to add ability to scan for GLB lines? Yes, there are plans to scan for GLB lines. It's the same feature as scanning for percent from all-time high. So we're going to add percent from all-time high instead of percent from GLB. Why does the chart dragger not show up? No, it should show up all the time. It should be here all the time. There's no way it should not show at any moment. So if you are experiencing the fact that it's not there, go down to the bottom left, click help, report a bug. Let us know what the bug's about. Record your screen, maybe not having it. That's super helpful for us to fix it right away. But any browser that you use today should have this dragging capabilities. Fundamental data, again, great question. This summer, we'll have all the fundamental data in the world in this platform. Everything you could possibly think of, including guidance data, will be here. Laparoscopic. I don't know what that means. Just a one word. Well, the Canadian markets, after we do a few other international markets, Canadian markets, there's not much, to be honest, high demand for it. There's not many traders. There's a very smaller community compared to others. So from a business sense, it makes sense for us to go to Europe and India and these other markets first before we incorporate Canada. Do you provide any gamma flip zones? No, we don't. No options related data is available in Deepvue as of today. We do have options. We will include options at a later date, but we're going to do crypto, OTC, breadth data, futures first. Once those are done, then we'll get into the options world. Likely a next year thing at this point. Any ETA on journal module, late Q3, early Q4 is when we get into journaling. Can two charts be linked? Absolutely. So you can use any of these layout settings. You could go here. You can have these three charts, right? Now, if I can have my daily here, my weekly here, my 65-minute. Now I have three different time frames. And then I can also make sure that the symbol is synced. And if I click this, it will change to A on all three time frames that you see here. So yes, that's doable. A lot of questions come through. Can I create a trading bot? No, you cannot create a trading bot. We'll get into these advanced. I appreciate the questions. Can you do all that you can possibly think of in Deepvue today? No, you cannot. We'll get to these things as we grow and mature as a platform. So our plans are very clear. Our Q2 roadmap is out and available. We'll accomplish all those things in Q2, and then we'll release a Q3 roadmap that you can take a look at. Did you mention before there will be other services you'll provide that will be additional money? When we'll see what makes business sense. I'm not going to sit here and say everything will be included. I don't know. So Bill, that's a great question. When we include journaling, maybe we increase the price of our monthly, right? When we include a lot more features and we feel like we've done a really good job of catering at $49 a month, right? Then if, to support, to increase, to get new capability, to get new data, to do better things, to do bigger things, we might have to look at, increasing the 49 to 59 when we add more capabilities to the platform. I can't sit here and say guaranteed everything will be the same. Business doesn't work like that, especially with the platform business. Oh, okay. A lot of questions. Is there a section which shows 1, 3, and 6 month market leaders? Yes. There's a lot of screening that you could do that shows 1, 3, and 6 month market leaders. You could use the mid-linear trend criteria 1 month to pull those. You could use the relative strength scans that are 1, 3, 6, 9, and 12 months to pull those together. But Nick, maybe a good question, like I would say run the Deepvue leaders screen that will give you the best stocks that are available in the market in one click. So if you click this and go through this, you'll see what are the top performing stocks in the market today. That's a great screen. And also the Deepvue universe. list, which is basically, it will create a universe of stocks for you that you may want to consider based on price performance, relative strength, etc. These two screens are top notch in terms of doing that. So you go under screener presets, you go to Deepvue, you go to Deepvue Universe and Deepvue Leaders. Those two screens will help you quite a bit. Do you offer a option for lifetime subscription? Yes, it is available. It's a little bit pricey. You can reach out to hello@deepvue.com. We do offer a lifetime, and if support will tell you how much that is when you reach out to them. Thanks. If this happens, you should give your present users the opportunity to get a 12-month deal. So the way we operate, if we were to increase prices, they won't be on existing users. Users that sign up now at 49 will keep that at 49 forever. We're not going to come back and say, hey, now you got to pay 59. That I can guarantee today. But new users coming into the platform, when we add journal and all of these capabilities, then we'll look at a price increase for the new users coming in. I just want to be very clear on that. I see model book list. How do you use that? So great question. If I go to model book, so if these are model books that we have for Trader Lion. So we put all the stocks into these lists. So if I go to, what were the top stocks that, the Trader Lion model book reviewed, they were these stocks. So now you can go to these and then go review them in 2020. Excellent. Awesome. Thanks, Bill. You have my business for life. That's good to hear. Look forward to working with you. Nick, you want to read some out? I'm grab some water.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, when will I be able to split multiple charts into 2 or 3 monitors?
Yeah, I answered that. Oh, well, when will I be able to split multiple charts into two? We're working on that. It's a huge request by many users. We're working on that. This next update that we're doing on Thursday, on the back end side of things, and I know like it won't be visible for you to do, but on the back end side of things, it will. We're moving closer to having that capability. So this Thursday's update that's coming up will be a huge step forward to that, and maybe give us a couple of more weeks to really get this into a milestone. We work on 2-week milestones internally, but it's highly requested. We will work on this very, very soon. Okay.
DV has been slow during trading hours. Any way you can make it faster?
So Friday, we did have some, slowness in performance. We are aware of what happened on Friday. We will improve that. I know every time, we see a little bit of slowness in performance. It's discouraging. It's not good. It's not a good user experience. We're aware of that. We discussed that, and we will take steps to get better at that. And every update we do, we make sure that Deepvue gets better, not infinitely, not worse versus the prior update. So that's definitely yes.
Will all of the additions of options data degrade basically the speed of Deepvue? Is it
No,
blind?
everything. That's a great question. So all these additions, when we bring in journaling, new data, our symbol set is going to move from 12,000 to 50,000. The work that we've done the last 4 months on our back end is to do more data integrations for this summer, right? So we plan all of those things out, but the screener itself, it's a modular component. It's an isolated environment. It does one thing, which is screen the markets, right? The charting, that data, it's a modular component. It does one thing. So we're built to scale these things. We're built to bring in journaling. We're built to bring in 30,000 new symbols. We're built to enable OTC markets, which has thousands, 10,000, 15,000 symbols, etc. So there's a method to this madness. It won't slow the software down. If it does, we're always receptive to, working with different users. We see it, we hear it, we work on it, and we're receptive to feedback that we get. So definitely.
Some of the data in the stats table is not labeling EPS properly. Some stocks don't have Q4 data, and some Q4 is labeled as Q1.
That should not be the case at all. If you are experiencing it, file a bug. We have data quality checks that we run weekly on our data, and we have a pass and fail and automated alerts that will pop on our side as soon as something's off. It should not be happening. If you're expecting Q4 data for a symbol, or you're expecting Q2 data for a symbol, you might be thinking of fiscal year versus calendar year. So the confusion might exist there, but we will double check. And if you submit a request, we'll work with you to explain exactly why is it this way, and what's the reason for it, etc. There's a ton of questions.
Let's take a couple more. 2 more questions.
Is multi-chart mode. You can zoom out to yearly instead of yeah, I mean, Tom, I would submit this. It's a very small request. If you can't do something now in the multiple charts view, we're more than happy to enable these capabilities. I would submit them through the feature request. So anything that you guys can possibly think of, you could click this bottom left help, request the feature. We look at all of these weekly, and internally we look at them every 2 to 3 weeks to see if browse through every single idea, bring them into our roadmap. So it's not something we just tell you to do this and we never look at it. Everything's looked at behind the scenes. Which countries will you add? We will add India. We'll add the European markets, 1 and 2. Then we'll go to Australia, Canada, depending on demand. How do you display the 3 charts, the one you're showing now? You just click. So next to this select layout, you click that, and then you could pick any variation of these that you want. So I click the third 3 charts and this particular setting. And then now I have a daily, a weekly, and a 65-minute up at the same time. Yes, Forex is part of this summer's plan. So all Forex pairs, real-time Forex data, including index data, will be in here as well. So a lot of symbols are coming in terms of data integration. But is it wise to be? No, 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 no. That's a great question. The idea here is not to just forget our screener and move to the next thing. We're launching the formula builder, which we feel is the last piece of the puzzle, which makes our screener very robust. Then we're adding fundamental data, all fundamental data that you could possibly think of. Also, it's going to be scannable. And then we're adding the formula builder will allow capabilities for any technical screen that you can possibly think of. The formula builder will allow that. After that, we really don't have much, in the short term to add to screening capabilities, but we'll always have some tweaks, etc., that we hear from users. So it's not we're done with screener, we're now going to this or that and forgetting. We're going to improve the core capabilities of the platform by bringing in more data into the platform. What is the support email? Nick, you could type that.
Yep.
Will US users have access to? I can't answer that today. I can't answer that today. If it depends on the pricing model that we come up with, it's not decided yet. We'll see. We'll see. Are pivot points available on 10-minute charts? Tom, I'm not sure what the question is, but if you want to plot RMV on a 10-minute, you could do that. If you want to plot RMV on any time frame, on the 1 minute, you could do that. So all the indicators are not based on a time frame. They're based on the time frame that you pick for calculation. You're doing a good job. Keep pushing. I'll cancel market surge. Awesome. I personally love to hear that. Great presentation. Thanks so much. Thank you, Mike. Thank you for joining. ETF holdings. This is a great question. So we don't have international data. So that's why KWeb Holdings will only show US stocks that are available in our database. They will not show Hong Kong stocks or China stocks or whichever other holdings that they have in the KWeb. They will not show because we don't support those symbols. So it's not that the holdings are incorrect. The holdings are correct, but we don't support international markets just yet. So that's the difference. Reportedly, so let's you want to diet, you look slimmer. I just shaved this morning, so I look a little bit
He
younger.
shaved his beard.
So, but yeah, I have lost weight. I've lost what 18, 19 pounds in the last couple of months here. You could use co-opting presets. I don't see any other questions. I'm already married. If time to get married. Awesome. I don't have anything else. If you guys, in terms of indicators, if you guys have any ideas on what we could add to the platform in terms of market indicators that we can introduce here, etc. We will have a lot of breath symbols come through, and we'll convert those into indicators as well. That's part of our Q2 roadmap. But any ideas, always submit them as a feature request or just contact us. We'll convert them into a feature request for you behind the scenes. Always happy to hear what you guys think of the platform. Reach out, except, we want to hear your feedback, how we can get better, what we could do next. It's, we're working on a lot of things to make the platform even better, versus how it is today. So I look forward to hearing from you guys. So with that, have a nice weekend. We'll see you in the next webinar, which will be on Wednesday. So go to deepvue.com/events, deepvue.com/events. You could subscribe to the whole calendar. And anytime we add something to that, to a new event, it will automatically sync to your calendar as well. So it's a handy feature. Do use that, deepvue.com/events. And I wish you guys a good weekend.
Have a good one, guys.